Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Weathered and Forged podcast, part of the Men of Purpose group. It's been a minute, but we're back. Busy summer. Trevor Johnson's back with me. It's been busy. Trevor's been on the road some this summer, coaching some of the summer league stuff, chasing his kids, and then we had a summer full. And we just sent one to A&M Galveston here last week, so. Trev, we said we were going to do this once a month, but we don't get paid to do this, so we'll just do it whenever we want to, right? So,
Yeah, I agree. Life gets in the way quite a bit now.
just do these when we feel like it, and then you guys can watch it. But we're glad that you guys are here joining us today. We're glad to be back and just share some thoughts that we run across in life sometimes that maybe helps men and guys and everybody for that matter of fact and everything. One thing I want to do real quick is go back and reiterate that we have moved the Men of Purpose conference. That was originally scheduled for Saturday, September 6th. Josh Gunderson, our pilot that was going to speak, he just had some work dropped in his lap, and Josh was even like, if y'all need to do it without me, that's fine. And we just felt like that wasn't right. We're excited about Josh. The more Trevor and then Josh and I get to know him, the more we like him. And we just felt like it was too much of an integral part not to have with us. And actually, Trev, you can probably speak to this too a little bit. We've moved it to Saturday, January 10th, right after the first year. I think that's a better time of year anyway, so.
Yeah, I think everybody getting back to school and getting back in the swing of things, I think it'll be a good time for us to have that event.
Yeah. And I don't know. I felt like the closer we were getting to this, we were getting rushed on, honestly. I felt that way. I think it would have been fine, but I just, it's given some time for everybody to kind of sit back and relax and plan again. And actually the school said it was a perfect time of year for them for us to have it at the middle school. So that'll be Saturday, January 10th. We'll talk more about that as we get into it later next few months and everything. So, Trev, what's new in your world before we get off on topics and stuff? Anything crazy happening other than the normal crazy, or?
It's the normal crazy, just chasing my own kids, now starting to chase the basketball kids and back in the swing of things with school. It's a whirlwind, but it's a whirlwind we chose.
It is, but I think we get to school and this time of year, it's the controlled whirlwind. In the summer, I don't know about you, man, but I love the summer until about 2/3 of the way through. And I'm like, this makes no rhyme or reason. I have no idea where I'm going to be in the next day or two. And so to get a schedule back is probably good for all of us, so.
I agree.
It's good to get the kids in school where you know where they are and they're not running around at 2:00 in the afternoon. You got to find out, you got to go to Amarillo for something or something like that. That usually happens. So anyway, well, I think this is I know you had some of this summer. I know we definitely did with Tucker leaving us and all that good stuff, going to college. But I wanted to talk about change today. And I wrote on this recently on one of my Facebook posts, but change, and maybe we even get into the letting go part of change, and maybe it turns into, I don't know where this is going to go, but I want to talk about change because life is predicated on there's going to be change. And you have two choices with change. You can embrace it and move on with it, or you can let it run you over and make you resentful and all of that. Trev, has there been some change for you, spring, summer coming through, something that's rattled you a little bit where you went, okay, how do you handle that? I mean, because we're going to talk from a 35-year-old to a 53-year-old how we handle this stuff. So.
Yeah, definitely. As much as things stay the same, they're always different, it seems like. And I think one big change that me and Amanda, my wife, have been going through is, we've got a daughter in junior high now. And it's crazy and depressing to think about that we have a 12-year-old seventh grader now, but it's been a cool thing, but it's also been kind of eye-opening to us, making that change with her. She's got more responsibilities in school with athletics now, and trying to help her realize the importance of those things has been something new to us too. But one big thing that really opened our eyes this summer was we're trying to plan a vacation, go somewhere, and we sat down one night and we had that talk on how we can't really afford this right now. We don't need to do this right now. And it was weird, out of the blue, Amanda got a call from somebody, one of her friends, and they asked what we were doing. She told them, and that friend told her, take the trip. You only have 4 or 5 more guaranteed summer vacations with Beckham while she's in junior high and high school. Take the trip. And so it was really, we took the trip and it was an amazing experience for all of us. But just chasing kids around constantly, everything changes. Their friend groups change, their school lives change. Our jobs, even though we have the same role, there's different roles that come with them that change. So, and then our own personal lives, I feel like this past 2 years has been a whirlwind, and my wife told me you need to take time for yourself. So I try to take a day a week and go play golf either by myself or with a friend. And, trying to make change for yourself is really important too, I think. And it betters yourself and kind of puts you back on a more surface playing field while you're not out running around with your hair on fire.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think something you're experiencing too, and of course, you're going to laugh because we're experiencing the same thing. We have an 11-year-old, but we also have a 24 and an 18-year-old. But Beckham's at that age, and Baxter's at that age where they're not mom and dad's little kids anymore. The independent streak comes, and they don't want mom and dad around as much as they used to, or they want them around for different reasons. And that can be really stressful. It's stressful on dads, but it can be really stressful on moms because they've always been there for them. And different stresses in moms and daughters than moms and sons, but kind of the same stuff. And it can be tough if you're not careful, and it can cause a little depression. It can cause some some things to seep in, just like with us sending Tucker off. It's like I told people, we didn't take Tucker to WT 2 hours away. I mean, this cat's 9 hours away, and that's if we can get through traffic in Dallas and Houston perfectly, and he's been here for 18 years and all of a sudden he's gone. I'm sitting in his old room this morning and there ain't nobody here. And it definitely can, if you're not careful, cause some things to happen, because I think a lot of times we want to keep living life in the rear view mirror with that and everything, so.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite TV shows on is Ted Lasso. It's a really cool show. While it's funny, there's some really good life lessons. And you texted me a little bit ago about the topic today we were going to talk about is change. And he's an American football coach that gets hired to go coach in the Premier League and in England, coach soccer. And one of his big speeches to his kid or team was that change is a good thing. You need to embrace change even when it's scary and stuff. And I think me and my wife really, we've embraced, hey, especially over these past 2 years, so many things have changed in our lives, and the different people that have came into our lives and stuff. And we've embraced it as a great thing. You never know what God's going to send you, and you always get to see that as a good thing, as a positive thing. So I think that's one thing we've really focused on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something. So different stage of life for me, your dad and I are about the same age, and we're at that stage of life where our parents are older, and people that are like our parents are older. And we've got a couple of situations with dear friends that their parents don't have long. We've been given the news they're very close to us and everything. And it's interesting. I was talking to one of them last week. Is actually the son-in-law of some of these people, and he told me we were standing outside, and he said, I'm really trying to embrace this. He said, I know that sounds crazy. My father-in-law is dying, and so is my mother-in-law. I'm trying to embrace it. I said, no, not at all. And he just went on to talk. He said, my dad died. He said, landing before 50. He said he was gone by our age. And he said, so I never had that. And he said, I'm just trying. He said, I know it's crazy, but I'm just trying to stay in the moment and really take in each moment. And I thought there was so much to be said for that. Because there's a lot of truth to it. I mean, we worry our lives away going, oh, they're going to be gone one of these days and all that stuff. And my dad has always said, the modern church, we don't get into a lot of religious topics here, but everybody knows how we believe. But my dad says, the modern church has really let us down on that, because if we believe what we believe, when our parents turn 80, 90 years old, or grandparents, and they pass away, we ought to be really pretty happy for them, because they don't have to mess with what we've got to mess with for the next 20 years anymore. They're off to a better place. And so that really put it in perspective for me. And then as we took Tucker down to Galveston this week, I'll be honest with you, and I think Danita would say the same thing if she was on here. We did not handle Sawyer moving to college well at all, probably. And there's a lot of reasons why, but we have handled this one completely different. And it's been tough in some ways. I mean, we've still struggled with it, but we both really focused on trying to embrace it and understanding it's a new chapter of his life and our life, and just being in that moment. And it changes everything. It changes how you view life. It like I say, it doesn't run us over. I think when Sawyer left, it kind of ran us over for a little while, and I think that happens to a lot of parents, but it is one of those things of, change can do one of two things to you. And the only constant is life's going to change, wait a minute, it's going to happen. It's just the way life is. And we have that choice every day of, do I embrace it and try to move with it and ebb and flow with it? Or am I going to dig my heels in or stick my head in the sand and pretend like nothing's happening, and man, I've done both, and I can tell you which one's better, at least in my world. And it's a tough thing, because people do not like change, for sure. So
I think that's what I'm having to deal with this year, especially. Last year I lost 8 of my players to graduation, and 3 of those guys were 3-year varsity players who won more than 100 games in their career and made the state tournament twice. So going into this season with a brand new team, and there were a couple weeks this summer where I was in the doldrums because, man, it's way different. It's going to be hard, but the more and more I'm around these new guys that we've got on our team this year, I'm really excited for the change that's going to happen. I get to coach a different way. I get to put different schemes in that I haven't had to put in the past couple of years. So I'm really excited about that. I get to be more of a teacher than just more of the CEO role that I've had the past couple of years. And I'm excited about that in a way. So yeah, really embracing change in my professional career as well right now too.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because we just talked about this for me as I got on. The last 18 months of business for me, it was craziness. I lost a business partner, lost some other people, and it's just been crazy. I line up all the bad things that could happen, and it happened. And here I am, starting a new chapter, and it's exciting. And I got somebody helping me in the office that I've never had somebody help me this much. It's made me nervous and everything. And just the flip of what that's done immediately, I've embraced it, and it's been. You need to look at it, or we
keep going.
Well,
it's
okay.
Still recording.
Well, maybe he can edit it out, maybe. So I'll let you know what's going on here. So, but so did you hear the part about Brian? Did we get through that?
Mm-hmm.
How far did we get?
I don't even
What's
know.
The last thing you heard?
Like talking about business partner and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So, I've had some craziness happen in the past year. And I thought, man, I'm too old for this. I can't restart again. I can't reinvent again. slowly but surely I've been doing that. And I got some help in my office that, I've never had this much help. I've never signed them on for this long. And it really kind of scared me. And it's been one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I let go of that a little bit, but you and I have a good friend. We are just talking about this before we got on podcast that's coaching. He got out of public education 2 years ago, retired, wouldn't coach college for a year, was perfectly happy with it, or seemed to be. And then this past spring, I hear he's up and moved to high school again. I thought, what in the heck is he doing? What's going on? And I kind of thought that all summer long. And then I watched a podcast on him last night as I was talking to Tucker about some things, and it hit me where change was good for him. And I'm about the same age he is. I could see it in his eyes of this. Hey, this change has made me realize I got a little gas in the tank left here. I'm going to be okay. And that's what I felt like with this. As I saw that last night, I went, oh man, I get it. All this bad stuff and all this change that's been going on the past 12 months has led me to right here, somebody tapping me on the shoulder going, you're not as close to done as you think you are, man. And I'm going to send you some help, and you're going to do that. And I think really embracing that and understanding that, if you look at the bad as an opportunity rather than an obstacle, and I'll be really honest, in the business world over the past 8 months, and I've shared with you, there were days I really felt like it was an obstacle, but coming out the other side and just seeing that it's really this great opportunity, not just on the business, but for me personally, it's made me better. I mean, it's brought a fire back to me that I thought maybe was gone, that I'd aged out of. It's brought some purpose back into my life. I feel like when I get up now, man, there's a reason why I'm going to work now. And that's a really good feeling to have. And if you don't embrace it, you view those things as obstacles, man, then you're miserable to your kids at school. I'm miserable to my clients, and nobody wants that. That can be a really bad thing. So,
Yeah. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody right now. And I think one of the worst things we can do in life too is anticipate change to happen, because
yeah,
it's not our plan, it's his plan, and he's going to put us in the right positions and on the right path that we're supposed to be on. But when you're constantly anticipating and waiting on things to change, I think that can really affect a person. My wife kind of sat me down and wore me out a little bit here in the past month for doing that type of stuff, and I had to reset my mind and reset how I viewed things, and it's been good. But I think when you anticipate change and want change to happen, I think you can really put yourself into some trouble too.
you know, you know, I, I learned that in some of my recovery stuff. And of course, you hear one day at a time in recovery and stuff, but really, until you really learn how to live just today, that's the biggest gift you can have. And I've got a dear friend that I met through recovery meetings, and he is such a great influence on me. But he talks about, if you got one hand in the future worrying about what's going to happen change there, and you got one hand in the past grabbing on, regretting those changes that you didn't let happen, and everything. He said, "What do you got now? You're free fall, and that's something that I've really worked to embrace, and I think I've gotten a lot better at it. Is I'm just worried about today. You know, eh, Tomorrow that's a whole different deal. But we're just going to take care of what we can do today, and we got a schedule ahead like everybody else, and set those plans in motion. But really, as far as action items, the only action item is what we're doing today. And at the end of the day, you can only control a few things in life, and that's your attitude, and your actions towards life. I mean that's it. There's not a whole lot we can do outside of that. We can't control others. We can't control things that happen. The only thing that we can control is how we respond to them. And that's the other thing this friend of mine tells me, a mentor of mine. He says, with every situation, we can act, react, or do nothing at all. And he said, usually that third one, if you'll do nothing at all for a little while, you'll be able to act, which is respond. What you don't want to do is react. And I was really bad at that for a long, long time. So,
Yeah, 100%.
What
what do you think? So as we're talking about this, and I think we'll wait. We'll talk about letting go in the next one. I was afraid that's what was going to happen. I think that it'll be a good lead into the next one. But when we start white knuckling life and resisting change and everything, what does that do to everyone around us?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it makes just the tornado in your life swallow up the people around you too. Like when you're trying to fight and resist change, I think it carries on to everybody in every relationship you have because it affects your mood, affects everybody, and your outlook on life affects everybody. And, if you keep going and going, it's hard to regain all that stuff.
And I hadn't thought about that, the tornado of life. And that's true, and honestly, as I look back at things in my life where it went wrong and everything, ultimately at the end of the day, I was responsible for others' actions around me because as I resisted change and white knuckled and I drew them into the tornado, well, now that causes codependencies and it's, well, hey, Landon's upset, so now I got to be upset. I don't know what I'm upset about, and then, well, they're upset, so now Landon's got to be upset. And we don't, and you just start whipping around, and man, it creates a lot of chaos in your life, And I was talking to some people a while back that hadn't seen me in a while. I mean, like years, and we were talking. They're like, man, so you're doing this and that now? I was, yeah, and there are guys that don't do this and that. They're still out there kind of on the edges of society, and that's fine. They're still friends of mine, and they're like, well, how's that treating you? I said, well, it's made life a hell of a lot simpler. I can tell you that. And they all died like just like you. They're all laughing, and they all went, yeah, you're probably right. But it's the truth, man. I mean, you start doing that stuff, and all you're doing is fueling chaos in your life, and that whirlwind that turned it into an F5 tornado. And then, man, it destroys everyone and everything around you. And then what I think it really does at the end, it causes resentments in people. And well, there's an old quote I love that hate corrodes the container it's in. And man, when you get resentments in your heart and you hate yourself and everything, it corrodes your soul, and then it's not going to do anything but turn battery acid on the ones you love. I think that's a really good way to explain it, Trev. Of it is it's a tornado, man. Yeah, and you
Yep.
bring everybody in with you.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent on especially team sports here. Like, I think your team takes on the identity of your coach too. And
Yeah.
when change happens in the game, if you're very reactionary and kind of freak out, your team's going to do the same. And I think that's the same as your family at home. Like, your kids are always watching you and seeing the decisions and how you react to things, and that's what I believe that's what they'll do because they want to mimic what you do. So it's never a bad thing to just take a second and breathe and just see what the change was that happened, how we can face that change, and what our adjustments should be going forward. So I think how you respond is very big in life.
It is. It's interesting you mentioned that because that's something that Christy that's working in my office and I talk about. Now we had a situation we were talking this morning. She got a hold of some folks that aren't real happy clients from over the years for whatever reason. I mean, we're just calling them. We're the new ones to the table. And she said, that she was pretty matter of fact, not real nice to me about it. And she said, I was just really nice and brought the mood down and said, sorry, well, if y'all decide that you're going to move, we're going to miss you. But, if we can help you. And I really do. I think that can change things. And we've noticed that, in client meetings or with people, if they come in upset and you just stay calm and go, hey, you know what? I can't do anything about what's been done, but I can work to help you fix this. But if you're still upset, you can leave after. It changes the whole conversation. It changes the whole demeanor of how everybody reacts. And that's what she even said this morning as she visited with that person, that the person just kind of took it down a level because what happens a lot of times, those people are wanting you to meet that energy and go toe to toe. And when she found out that wasn't going to happen, it's like, well, conversation's over. So I think, and I think in men especially, I think women too, but as we talk to men and everything, where we lead in our lives with our families and our teams and even our peer groups and stuff, people directly respond to how we're acting or reacting or whatever we're doing. You look in your peer groups, man, if you got people gossiping and mad all the time and stuff, you just see it. It's just round and round. If you get one guy that comes in that's kind of got a piece about him that finally looks at everybody and goes, "What are y'all doing?" It calms down really quick. And I think as we all step out and look for those opportunities, that's really important. Yeah. Again, that's change in a positive way. We've talked about how things change that we can't control. Well, what about the change we can control? Of, hey, I'm going to change the attitude of this conversation. I'm going to change the attitude of how we talk at the dinner table. I'm going to change, when we're in Sunday school, we're not going to spend the first 5 minutes gossiping about what happened, Friday night after the football game. Not that ever happens, right, Trev? Small town America, not that they talk about coaches and stuff at Sunday morning before Sunday school. That, who'd think that happens, but we have the ability to affect that change, and be that change agent as well. It's a really good book out there by a guy that I met over the years. I know you've read it too. It's The Change Agent by
The Coffee Bean by Damon West, right?
Damon West. And his first book was The Change Agent. And it's about his life and going to prison and learning how to change and coming out. And he talks about the guy that taught him, said, you can be the change. And literally, he changed guys around him in prison of how they treated him. And that's, you go, well, that's impossible. Well, there's nothing impossible, if we just work it the right way. So we definitely have that ability to be changing other people's lives as well. So,
yep.
So
I agree. I think that's a good way to move into the next one where we talk about letting go of things. And I mean, change is real, but letting go of all those things is even realer too. So,
yeah. And I'm going to tell you that needs to be a separate one as we're talking, because I did a lot of that this summer, and we'll talk about a book I read in the next one, and then talk about that letting go process and the paradox of, by letting go, I get so much in return. If I white knuckle, guess what's going to happen? But if I let go, it's amazing what comes back to me. So, yeah, we'll look forward to doing that one in the next several weeks and getting that out. As we wrap up here, thoughts, comments, anything on the men's conference, anything coming up that you know of?
No thoughts, just excited for it. I'm ready to speak at it.
Yeah, I am too. I needed a little break to, we had a lot happening at the end of the summer. So for me personally, it happened for a reason, and things don't happen in life by coincidence. So that's gonna be a really good thing. As always, we appreciate everybody tuning in here and viewing, and man, if you share it with people, we'd appreciate that. Trev and I's deal is, we're not looking to get millions of views, but we're looking to get that one view for that one person each time that goes, I needed that today. That's going to make me better. That's what we're looking for. So as you guys watch this, if you think of that person or something, man, just send it to them, because you know what? Maybe it changes somebody. Maybe it gets them off the path they're going down. We sure want that. And we all need to be there for somebody. So, until next time, Trev, thanks for your time. We'll pick up where we left off about letting go, and then that'll get really messy. So,
all right, see ya.
All right, y'all take care.